So I know that none of you missed me because my Google Analytics has showed me that you watch the other host more. Hmm, it hurts. But anyways, it's good to be back, and I have a raging and a fairy topic for you. It's raging because it's another Twitter battle, but it ain't between Kangana Ranaut and the rest of India. So you guys can control the aperture of your eyes if they're overly open, because this one is between Amol and Pita. Now I'm so happy that I have a controversial topic to make a video about, that I'm sitting and talking and not standing as I usually do. I'm so happy that I have a controversial topic to make a video about, that I haven't tied up my hair, which I know look pretty messy. And I can go on and on. But anyways, the thing is, I do have a controversial topic, and you guys who are watching this video are going to get some educated perspective on the points raised by both of the parties involved. So if you guys are thinking of leaving this video just looking at my face, I can promise I have some handsome faces on the other side of this intro, so stay tuned.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, audience, as I promised before going into the intro, that I'll bring to you three beautiful minds and handsome faces. So, they are here with me, my friends. I have Archit Mahajan, who is a student of Institute of Rural Management, Anand. He's doing his MBA there and working with Coca-Cola currently. I have Akshay Goyal, who is another MBA student, but he's in IIM Raipur and he's interning with Akshay Patra. And lastly, I have Gaurav Jain, the co-host that you prefer more over me. And if you guys have forgotten that I have the current right over this channel, this guy can vanish. But I'll keep my anger aside, and I'd like to thank my friends for joining me. So, guys, today we are here to share our insights with the audience who's watching on Amul and Pita controversy. Now, to build a little story behind how this controversy erupted, I have a few screenshots. I don't know if you have seen this tweet, but I think last year when Jacquin he won the Oscar for his performance in Joker, I think he mentioned something about veganism and all those things in his speech, and so Amul with their beautiful Amul girl, they made cartoon in which they are feeding the actor butter, I guess. So, firstly, my thoughts about this is that like our culture is to feed sweet. Nobody feeds butter. If you do something good, if you accomplish something, you are fed sweet, not butter. Any thoughts?
Yeah, Gautam, as you rightly stated, Joaquin Phoenix last year when he begged he went quite emotional during his speech. And this current cartoon that I could see on the screen is clearly depicting how they try to create in the indirect in an indirect sense how they are trying to delight their even for charming moments or emotional moments or for great successes. Butter is something that you should have because it's always tasty and yummy to have a treat whenever you're feeling great.
And obviously this Utterly Butterly girl, no, she has been coming in this cartoons from like when Amul started basically, and it has been all these pictures that come up. No, it's for it has a comic part to it. So basically, they come up with all when Amul started, and this advertising campaign is running from till like from then to till date. And if you see newspapers every day, they almost come. This would be there every day according to what the breaking news is around the world.
Yeah.
So not because whether we are having sweets or something else, and obviously it shows that how Amul is basically a delighter for us. No? So that's where I take it as.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting thoughts there. Now, staying on this tweet, This tweet wasn't taken good by the audience in India, and especially by vegans and even PETA. And I found this tweet very interesting from PETA, that the jokes is on you because in his speech he spoke against animal cruelty, dairy cruelty. So you guys should switch to soya almond. And this is last year. It's not the current controversy, but you can see where it is erupting and where it is starting. And there was another tweet. I have taken out the name of the person, but the person says that the actor is a vegan and a lifetime activist. Stuffing button into his face is disrespectful. It's like stuffing meat in a vegetarian's face. So my question here is it like taking this a bit far in terms of relating it to feeding meat to a vegetarian or a vegan, or it's on the same lines?
Yeah, first of all, Gautam, I read this statement last year. It was a setback, as in when people try to correlate everything on a negative connotation. Working in the development sector and getting to know about the development sector, there is something which is, which we should know about Amul. So, Amul was Milk Union Limited, and it is one amongst the four foundation of the dairy sector in India. And when we talk about Amul, it comes under a sort of social enterprise called associations, wherein they are not benefiting their own selves. They are trying to, benefit the grassroots farmer who's basically the biggest stakeholder while in business that Amul does. And when we take it on, it should not be taken in a negative context. It should just have been passed in a light humor. I don't really understand why people took it the other way, because it's not Joaquin targeted here, it's just the Joker.
Yeah, as rightly mentioned, I have previously also this campaign is completely comic in its sense, and obvious, and also I would like to say, like, I think they went little bit ahead of what they actually do. So rather than showing it as stuffing, they could have gone for something like making the face of the Joker, and I guess that's what they're trying to denote also here, because making the face of a big, like the face of a Joker is, as Akshay also mentioned, it on the other way. But then see, every coin, like as we know, it has two sides to it. So I think this could have this set, but obviously this shouldn't have been taken in that sense, because of this campaign in itself is comic and as well as informative. If history of this campaign, no, it has been coming in this way only. It would be comic as well as it would come out with some information, as Akshay mentioned, no, like how Amul started and what it actually kind of organization it is. It's not basically a corporation as such. So it's a cooperative that whatever videos, news that I went through, that this I saw in the media, no, and obviously the international media. If you see, they are taking Amul as a corporation rather than a cooperative. So that is what they need to understand, because if I get to numbers, no, then 80% of the profit what has, no, it goes directly to the farmer. So that is the major point here, because obviously this talking about specifically about this, I think they went little ahead. But then if you see the history of the organization, history of the cooperative, how they work around, and how they have changed the lives of 100 million farmers, dairy farmers, it is commendable what they have done. And obviously it's a vision of it, it was a vision of Mr. Varghese Kurian. And I think in coming few days he also has his 100th birth centenary. So that is also like the rich history. Amul has a very rich history, which needs to be taken care of while talking about telling them what should they do with the dairy farmers or not.
Like I agree with like most of the points like Archit has said. Like Amul has like changed the perspective like of people throughout the world. Like it started with a cooperative and now like operating like it has became a Congo. I mean, like we say Nestle, or Canon. Okay, so Amul is expanding like they may in the future maybe like reach may become bigger than Nestle or Canon or other MNCs from New Zealand, any other countries. As rightly mentioned, like more than 80 to 90% profits of the Amul like directly reinvested back in India. And other thing these days like I directly interact with like different types of what online retail chains or maybe modern retail organizations. So Amul is like the one company operating at the least margins. Like they are giving less than like 8 to 12%. They are 8 to 12% margins as compared to 35 was given by other brands. So Amul's most of the revenues comes directly go to deep pockets or is directly reinvested creating the infrastructure that is required for the whole supply chain of its product. So they are doing a tremendous job at the also they are creating a world class products like that can compete with any other company.
Okay.
Rightly putting on one more thing here. Like recently, we received an we saw in during December, Amul became the eighth largest dairy producer in the world, like a dairy products producer in the world. So, coming seeing it as a cooperative, like none of the cooperatives in the world have grown so big. So, Amul has actually made a difference into the overall what India does and how we are taken into consideration in the global world. No, so that is also good. Like that is what Gaurav was actually talking about. How big this tree and Amul is.
Like I remember the days like when I visited like the team like to Gujarat to see the progress like Amul has bring in the grassroots level or the farmers, and even I have seen like most of the plants of the Amul near Anand, Vadodara and Ahmedabad. Like they are tremendous world class and tremendous facilities, and even like Amul is able to get the support, increase its cost and benefit the farmers. Like they are able to build supply chain across railways. And in India, as compared to roadways or any other mode of transportation, like railways are like 50 to 60% cheaper. So this is the reason. And also, other thing is like current more than $5 billion turnover that is equivalent to around 40,000 crores, and they are like by 2025 like they may reach $1 billion or may become a 1 lakh crore uh, 1 lakh crore sales turnover company by having only like a product major contribution is milk, and now like their ice creams like I still remember the ads of ice cream like that has created controversy in the past. Amul is going against all the big conglomerates like in ice cream segment. Like he has put like are like completely based on milk as compared to others that are using vegetable fat or palm oil or the cheaper alternative to milk. This brand or this company has created built a trust in the minds of people by giving quality at a good price and also we talk or giving back to society. And even like in India we have a term like corporate social responsibility. Okay, most of the big organizations to give certain amount of profit to back to the society, but Amul is giving like more than 80% or 90% back to the society. Way this is a like directly what we say promoting their brand, their establishment. So not only in India but throughout the world.
Okay, okay. So I have to stop you guys now because it seems like it's Amul all the way, and I have to make it a bit neutral. And also, we still haven't got to the topic for today, which wasn't this. So, this is where it all began, the recent and the current controversy that we have. The People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, that is PETA, they basically sent a letter out to Amul in which they were found quoting that the big companies, European companies like Cargill, the companies like Danone, they are the ones who have said it out that yes, people around the world they are turning vegan and dairy is kind of a dying industry. So they should also include vegan products into their product portfolio. So, to benefit from the booming vegan food market. That is what the letter said. To which RSOD, who I think, if I'm not wrong, is the managing director of Amul, and he said PETA wants Amul to snatch livelihood of 100 million poor farmers, hand over all of its resources it built in 75 years with the farmers' money to market genetically modified soy of rich MNC at exorbitant prices which average lower middle class cannot afford. Now, before I send out the questions I have, there's something which I feel has to be said about this quote as well, like the tweet. First of all, if anybody sells modified soy or any modified, genetically modified grain, the package has it declared. So, as a consumer, you have the right. Also, the genetically modified any produce, it is tested before it gets any kind of acceptance by the food regulatory agencies anywhere in the world, whether it is India or America. So it doesn't mean that genetically modified, they are bad or they can harm you. It is still an ongoing research, so it cannot be said for sure. Also, if you talk about the prices, then around the world, one milk that sells lower than any other vegan milk, that would be soy. Yes, the nutrition and all those things, they are questionable, and I do stand on that. But saying that it's more like promoting the MNCs who are making them, it is kind of again taking it into the wrong path, which I feel PETA didn't intend it to be. Now, that brings me to the questions, and which is firstly, since Archit, you were in Anand, so and Gaurav, you in the village adoption program, you went to Gujarat. I want to know, like, the question that is raised every time, it is the dairy cruelty. How much can we accept that as a part of our culture? Because I am aware how the dairy farms work outside, probably in Europe. But our culture, dairy, cows, they are sacred, and their handling is pretty different from just accepting how they are done in the Western world. So, what do you think? Is it dairy really, I would say, cruel in India as well?
Uh, like, see, I have been to villages of Gujarat, and obviously I have been to villages where I live, Haryana and Punjab. But in India, as you see, and specifically talking of area around Anand and M part of the country, no, there's a complete different value for a cow and for the dairy farmers as well. I've seen the Anand, basically this where the Amul started out from. This started out from Anand itself. The Vargi basically started off from there itself. So there, if you see, I don't see any kind of cruelty coming up, and they completely take them as their family. I won't see even a single person. You just can't say that there's something being cruel being done to the cows, obviously. And also in the areas, like if you see in Haryana and Punjab also, no, I believe, like, uh, what with what I have seen, I won't say it cruel, but obviously somewhere we'll have to make a line also here, because some people who are not educated enough, okay, some farmers who are not educated enough and in the dire need of money, and they are not able to make their living out of what the cow is. What they are doing is they are using this injections which are basically making the cow milk more, and all these things are being used. Obviously, I'm not saying, and obviously it's cruel, but what I would say is it's not like that it's being done at a very big scale. It's just that we need to people aware, and rather than putting it in the way like PETA did, no, that you just stop dairy marketing, or you just stop how dairy is working, or completely switch off the dairy produce. This is not the way probably for India as of now. If you see from the economics point of view, no, you have to find between where you basically aware these people of what things are going on. Probably here government would have to come in and provide people with that kind of cows and come up with something like that, so that people are able to get the produce that they want from a cow and not basically push them with injections and other medicines. The what is being fed to the kettles, no, that is also a very much important part here, because how much the cow and obviously the quality what the cow would milk also depends on what they feed to the cow.
Yeah.
So talking about the cruelty part, I would say, like in India, you won't see, you can just simply say that they are really cruel to the cow, or they'll just throw them off, or probably, there's a point wherein when a cow is not able to milk more after a specific age, then what you do with the cow. So that's where the point comes in here of cruelty and everything. But this needs to be taken care of in a very different way, because what PETA and other organizations and I have read around the world, and what I have spoken to people, like whatever I personally have experienced, is that once the cow is not milking that much, no, then they would go for something like they'll be leaving the cow alone, or away from their house or something. Obviously, where the beef market is coming from. Anyway, we are the biggest exporters of beef also.
Yeah.
So we need to basically see how.
Archit, I'll just try. I'll intervene here. I mean, putting the
Yeah,
let's we'll come to that point. Okay. So first of all, adding to Gautam's point, you're like all goody good stuff we've been saying about Amul, cause it's quite evident in their business models. And now talking to the just recent a post before it that you were showing that PETA as being a US organization. So I'll be a little conservative here. Please, you can question it otherwise. But back in 1970s, as you could see, when marijuana was kind of legalized in India, and we used it for medicinal purposes. That was the time when US found the need that we should ban marijuana, because they were not able to utilize it in the manner that it to be worthwhile. And they imposed it on developing countries like India, wherein it was in a state on UN agencies, and they had to ban marijuana. And now, as we see, they are I mean lifting the bans, and we could see them legalizing marijuana for medicinal purposes. But it is still banned in India. So what we have seen, the US basically putting their own motives and their own intentions above everyone's need and everyone's desires. They tend to impose it. Conservative part. Now coming on to what this PETA does. I mean, I understand people for ethical treatment of animals. This is that has been originated out of people who were slaughtering buffaloes, cows, and eating beefs and their lives, and they somehow found the need that let's do something good for it. Talking about the Indian perspective, we celebrate animals, we worship our animals, and we have been vegetarians all throughout our life. I remember back in my days when I was staying at my paternal home now. We didn't even talk about eating eggs for sake, because we followed a complete vegetarian diet, and Gaurav could relate with me because he's a Jain. So the sense of piousness that we have within our bodies for animals, you cannot question it. An organization coming out of US and saying, teaching us the lesson and ethical treatment for animals, they can't just do that. It's there imbibed in our culture in the Indian society. And to your part, Archit, I understand that there is a need to make the to bring the treatment of animals. We have been, yeah, there is an activity of injecting oxytocin into cows for rearing more milk. I agree. But there have been several actions taken against those farmers now, and this sort of practice is, I won't say it's completely curtailed, but it is being practiced to a very, an extent wherein it does livelihood of the animal. And the transparency need to be brought into, once the cow does not remain fertile, she becomes infertile. Transparency of what cooperatives are doing to take care of those animals who were rearing milk for almost food, and now they are old. What is being done? And this is how somewhere we could make PETA also, PETA's intentions satisfy the intention of PETA, as in how we are ethically treating the animals. I mean, Gautam, you could totally. I mean, you in Europe, you know what treatment is done to animals post they become infertile. They are basically sent to the slaughterhouses. But here in homes for our cows, wherein they are dealt with properly until their demise. They are fed daily, and this is which I mean, any one of us just is just lying, because it's already there. It is being practiced across several societies in India, wherein they have shelter home for cows, and you could just go and visit any
Okay.
shelter home. It's there in my around my vicinity also, and
Actually, here I want to add one point.
yeah,
Amul is one organization, but there is one company or what group of people. Okay, they came across like Pathmeda. If you have heard about this company, okay, this place name like tremendously well. If we see like in keeping care of the cattle who are not fertile, completely machinery in a region in Pathmeda. Okay, and they are like selling different products, and that organization is almost what we say taking care of the animals, uh, taking care of all the required required etc. And also selling like they are, for example, like the price of traditional ghee, okay, is in India is regular around 450 rupees, and Pathmeda due to the people had they are selling their ghee around 1,000 rupees because they are uh, doing good for the society by taking who are not fertile. So these types of goshalas or uh, shelter homes for old cows that are not useful or that are not productive, okay, is prevalent throughout the India and several sections of the society because it is imbibed in what we say like to take care of our elders, of our cattle. So we like each and everyone, okay, spend some amount of money or donate some amount of money for taking care of animals or related people like who take care or who are associated with that organization. Other thing is regarding PETA, like giving suggestions to Amul, like they should think of making like so currently like India, if you see different types of like soya milk, like different Sofit is a very well-known brand, so it is selling like around 30 rupees a liter soya milk. And if we go with almond milk, like companies are selling like 300 or 350 rupees a liter. And oats milk, okay, so it is also in a range of like 150 to 400 rupees. And please see, like I have done some working regarding like different types of can be produced in around 200 ml tetra pack, okay. So if you can see, like if Amul, this working I have done like by keeping the perspective of the, so if you can see all the different five alternatives, like four alternatives that I have shown you on the picture, okay. So you can produce maybe almond milk or maybe different combination of like almond, coconut milk, or oat milk, or even like soya milk in that value at a price of 14 rupees that currently Amul is selling 200-gram Tetra Pak. Okay, so and in another Excel working, you can also see like companies are selling almond based 200-gram beverages at around 70 rupees as compared to 14 that Amul can easily sold, like manufacture and sold by keeping their supply chain. So there is a like what we say not in percentage but a 5 times different 5 times like cost difference, okay, in selling these types of plant-based milk. So the profits of like 5 times, okay, 14 rupees, and its 90% revenues goes back towards the farmers or in building infrastructure as compared to these MNCs, almond milk or nut-based milk or milk alternatives at a price that is 5x of the traditional milk. Okay, so that money will go completely outside India. Even they are manufacturing in India because we import almonds, we import oats, even we import like modified soya bean that is used for making soya milk. So keeping the Indian perspective in mind, or even the Indian economy, okay, we always have a trade deficit. So we can't ignore like Amul contribution in a dairy segment, or even like currently Amul employment or like taking milk from more than 10 crore farmers. Okay, and at this COVID times, like in the past 1 month, okay, we have like in India more than 1.5 crore people, salaried people have lost their job. And forget about like the laborers or really ignore the economics livelihood aspect. Okay, while suggesting Amul to make plant-based milk, Amul wants, okay, they can make plant-based, good quality plant-based milk like in next 15 days also, and even lost the market because they are having a supply chain. Okay, but since that company works for the benefit of the farmers, benefit for the peoples of India, okay, so I think they will like do what we did SWOT analysis, and I think they will not move towards these alternatives. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Gaurav, I'll just add one point
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
So let us not neglect the fact that anything, I mean, we are all food technologists here, but let us not neglect the fact that anything which is consumed in its natural form has the, when we talk about plant-based milk, so almonds, when consumed in their natural form, would reap you the best benefits. Same manner, I mean, it is just like deriving a product out of something which was not it was not intended to do. And talk about cow milk. I mean, originated from a cow, and it is in its natural form. It is, I mean, there is zero amount of processing which is done in, making that. Processing is involved in at making it, improving the shelf life of the product. So that adds to the fact that is being consumed in its natural form, and we are not intervening of what purpose it is meant to solve. And you mentioned rightly about the pricing that it has. The average prices of almond milks are around 300, wherein you can get cow milk at 1/10 of the price in the local market. And you know, units are also are locally driven. I mean, they are we are shared amongst the people. There's no big conglomerate. Even let's about the organized dairy sector. Let's think about the unorganized dairy sector, which is generating revenue out of a small. So he basically would have like around 10 or 12 cows or buffaloes. He would rear milk, out of their that milk would be consumed, and our livelihood would be generated for him. But if in case you are talking about plant-based cannot be produced at a small scale industry. You would require, because it requires n number of processing. There are several required to to extract the proteins and the carbohydrates out of those plants. I mean, out of almonds or out of so, and then again, it has to be heated to a certain temperature at certain for a certain duration to eliminate the trypsin inhibitors and harmful chemicals that would impact your life. I mean, that would impact your well-being. So that is something you cannot and this is on the face of ethical treatment for animals. It's just big conglomerates who are trying to rob your pockets, create a deep hole, and then trying to sell you milk which was not intended to be there in the first place.
So Moving on, the next question I had was on the lines that if let us assume, like, because I've been hearing this here as well in Europe, that the question that is raised that if you stop consuming dairy, what will the farmer who is producing milk, whose livelihood depends on milk, do? Like, on your understanding, because you are working in the social sector, how easy is for a farmer just to change the way he's earning his money? Can he just change from milk to something else just in a day and still be fine? So, what are your thoughts?
I believe this is really difficult because during my village adoption program, like it's quite it was around 2015 or 16 probably, during my village adoption program, where we realized the income what a farmer makes who owns a livestock as well is coming, 30% of it is coming from the livestock, from the dairy, that from the milk that is out from the cow and then selling it over. So and also there's one more point to it when you talk of social security and all those things. No, like in the regions of Punjab, Haryana, and probably Himachal a bit, though a lot of dairy is not available. And also peers during my MBA who live in Gujarat. So what happens is, what the milk that is coming out, that is being generated from this milk, no, that is more or less going towards to the women's of the household, and the men is basically taking out the income majorly from the agriculture that he is doing. So if you take out the concept of women empowerment here, no, so that is also one big major point for, and this is especially I'm talking about people in Gujarat, no. So there you'll find that whatever income is coming out from the dairy farm go to the women in the household, and they would only work around with the livestock more rather than the males of the house. So this is one is worth making here, because obviously we know how important women empowerment is in our society as of now, and considering the whatever prejudice we used to have earlier, and what cultural thought process we come from, and the change that we are seeing in the society right now in towards the women empowerment. Also when you speak of like what will these farmers basically do if they don't produce like milk, I believe, I don't think a farmer would be able to feed the just for like for no use. Like what will be how will he make it how will he make his own living just leaving behind a dairy and then moving to a different sector? That I don't think that's a really good move as of now. What economics of India right now is, it would be really difficult.
Other thing is like in India, like most of the farmers are margins. Okay, even like the milk collections or the dairy farmers. Okay, they are having like more than 90% farmers have less than one cattle, or maybe like 80% have only two and three cattle maximum. Okay,
Hmm.
so there is always what we say a small income or small going towards as rightly mentioned, like more than 20 crores in total. 20 crores farmers are there who are having like okay, like in India approximately 45 to 50% population is depending upon agriculture. Percent is are having cattle in that. So we can't ignore uh, the contribution of dairy. Even like dairy is contributing very like 30-35% is a good. Or if you go by in value, that is 115 100 rupees per day or 50. But in India, per capita income is less than 50,000 rupees. Okay, so you are getting around 3,000 or 2,000 per month steady income cattle. So we can't ignore, and that is for more than like 20 to 30% population. And other thing is uh, other segments like at this COVID times, like tourism that was labor intensive, or maybe like what we other hospitality sectors, others. So these sectors have completely failed, and they may not see the revival like in next. So as per the current situation that is going on, the only sector that is least affected is agriculture sector. And any step taken by like uh, the Amul or any other big company who is dealing, maybe fertilizer companies or anything, so that will directly impact most of the population because as these COVID wave hits, okay, most of the laborers or have gone back to their villages, dependent on agriculture or dairy segment. So I don't think it's a good idea at this point to have alternative towards milk. We should like government should formulate policy like maybe 5 years or 10 years plans like how can they maybe 10% CAGR or 20% CAGR in order to enhance the income level of the farmers, and that can easily be done by promoting alternative products from the dairy segments. Okay, so this is the only way as per the current perspective because India needs sectors that can provide, and I think dairy is the largest segment that is contributing towards employment. So I do better way to have alternatives in place.
Yeah, Archit, you very rightly mentioned that who majorly get their livelihoods out of cattle rearing. Now coming up to the sustainability part, let's just life of a cow. The milk that comes out of herders that directly goes at households. The cow dung which is produced, that is transformed into, that is dried up, and those cakes are used as fire. The urine which is produced, that is basically used as a source of urea for the fields. The field disposed and the regular, fruit peels and everything, they are fed to the cow. So the kind of sustainable business that cow brings into the family in rural India without substantial investment into the business, because it's sort of self-sustainable. And then when the cow, it basically breeds, a new cow is born. The offsprings, and then they further, it's a sustainable business altogether. And what expect any other business to provide livelihood to the farmers at such a small price? At such a small, first of all, agriculture, the very basic requirement for agriculture is land itself. The average land holding of India is around zero point 0.5 hectare. And what sort of income would you expect Indians to grow out of zero point 0.5 hectare of, and the point of women empowerment? How could you expect the women to generate revenue? And
Okay, so I think they were very, very valid points. And something that I would like to add up here would be that the basic difference that would come if we talk about just the farmers, it could probably will be in terms of how much money they are getting. So if a farmer is producing soybean, let's take an example, that money he'll get by selling it to a company who's making an alternative beverage out of soya, it is going to be much, much less than what he's getting out of this dairy, because the major portion of your milk, the money that you pay for your milk, it goes to the farmer. So, and because there's very less in terms of margin that is there in the dairy milk, so large portion is going to the farmers, and taking that out is not a good decision, it seems, especially if we talk about India and the current state of India. Now, but we have to move on because after this, Amul issued a statement. So it was more like a advertisement that they made. So first point they're raising is the ethics, that it is not ethical, and we have touched upon it. And I think what Amul is saying to this is that cattle has been part of our culture, and it's not if a cattle produces, let's say, for example, 4 or 5 liters a day, that only 1 liter, 1.5 liter is supposed to be for its offspring, and rest, if it remains inside of the kettle, it is probably going to die because of a tumor, because of the protein that the milk has. It is going to spoil inside the mammary glands of the cattle. So it is sustainable in that way that by taking out the milk, you are kind of sustaining the life of the cow, and that is how it is being done. And there was a reason that we should not forget. So that is one point they are raising. They are
Also,
raising.
one more
Uh,
point I would like to put in here. Like this sentence in itself, no, there they have said like the first myth that they've talked about, plant-based beverages are ethical. So I don't
okay.
And one more point to be added here. The current infrastructure of India holds the largest livestock of cattle. So if you say let's stop producing, let's stop consuming dairy today, and let's start adopting plant-based alternatives. Where do you feel those cattle would go? Do you, do you want them to be slaughtered? I mean, what okay, let's even chalk out a 5-year plan. Won't that cattle give its offsprings? Would you kill those offsprings and then say, okay, plant-based beverages and dairy is cruel? And Gautam, as you rightly mentioned, that a small calf would actually consume 1/10. When a calf is born, he's around like 10 kgs or 12 kgs, and the kind of milk that he would consume is around 1 or 2 liters. Where Shaliwal that produce like 40 liters of milk in a day. Where will that milk go? I mean, what is cows right now is ethically taking out that milk, putting it in the, putting the right quantity of milk in the mouth of their offspring, in the calf, and then we are only taking what is disposed, what is not utilized, what cannot be utilized by the cow. That we are robbing of the offspring's milk and then we are consuming it. It's just, it's not that. Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to the next point, uh, they talk about the nutrients and how milk is vegetarian, which is for sure it's not vegan, but yeah, it's vegetarian. And how is it as it's a superfood? It has the nutrients, the proteins that we need, and those proteins, the nutrients, they're absorbed in our body because of the source, because of the way they come in, the media. A lot of research currently is being done that we as humans we consume a nutrient specifically better if it comes from a specific food in specific food metrics. So a lot of research is being done, and here we have something which is more natural, which is a real example of how a food metrics can affect what nutrients you can and that is probably what they are also saying, and comparing it with the vegan products or the vegan beverages, wherein you will have to add those vitamins externally just to balance out the profile. A lot of producers won't do. So if you are somebody who will do that, it's basically you are adding those nutraceuticals externally as a part of the product, and then a lot of you could talk about hemp milk, you talk about almond milk. They are not self-sufficient. So they are not self-sufficient in the amino acid profiles. So if there is a good alternative that would be in terms of mixing, combining different protein sources in terms of those seed grains and getting the milk out of them. But then the processing becomes a big problem because oat, you have a lot of starch, so you cannot process it the same way as you process almond to produce milk. So all those things they are tricky at the back end of the things, and that's why probably the companies also find it hard to balance both the things out. Anybody wants to add anything here? Yeah, Akshay. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's better to for a small infant to be fed mother's milk than those weaning foods, because mother's milk is considered to be the biggest nutrient provider for a for an infant. So in the same manner, I'll reiterate the fact again. Use plant-based milk. I mean, first of all, there's nothing as plant-based milk. This is something which we have created out of. We are trying to enact what naturally a milk is supposed to have. So you are adding all those nutrients externally, and sustainable in that it's just the profits that those big multinationals would draw after selling those expensive products to you. While the cow milk, it is naturally produced. Uh, the only processing that is used is in pasteurizing and packaging, and then it directly lands in your hand and you consume it.
Okay, so the next point, and to which I think there was an objection from PETA and other three agencies, it's what we have already said a lot number of times, that we keep saying vegan milk, vegan alternatives, and all those things. But technically and based on the regulations, not just FSSAI, the Codex Alimentarius, which is basically the book of food, that too doesn't allow anything which isn't coming from mammary glands to be called milk. And that is what uh, Amul said in their advertisement here as well. And somehow there is an objection, to which I think the advertisement agency of India, something like SE, they said that no, that is wrong, and I find it very funny for PETA to make such an objection without having a look at the regulations, because everybody who's working in the food industry, they know that, even the companies, they know that, and they'll usually use beverage and not milk on their packages. So PETA should have been more clearer on this fact. And the other thing they have written in their advertisement is related to the GDP and how much employment and all those things the milk generates, which is also true. And we have also said in different questions that we raised that it is something which is really, really important. So, yeah, milk, the only one and the real one, that is true. But now this brings me to one question, because I wasn't gonna ask this thing, but we all know that vegan is here to stay, and we all know that it is growing in India, a country like India where we are vegetarian, but still we have people who are turning vegan, who won't consume milk and all those things. So where do we draw this line? Like, I personally, like, for me, it is personally somebody's choice. Yeah, you want to be vegan, you want to consume something. Yeah, it is up to you. You consume that. You want to turn vegan? Yes, surely you can turn vegan. But then having these kind of controversies growing out of it, having these kind of battles growing out of it, doesn't make much sense to me. How do you guys see it?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Gautam, food is a personal. What you eat is your own preference. No one can impose any preference upon you. And when it comes to what is the foundation of veganism, is to consume cruelty-free food. Consume something which does not have put any living being, I mean, an animal, a fauna, directly or indirectly. You know. So when you talk, the the term was coined in the Western world, wherein they were consuming recklessly. I mean, they were directly and indirectly through, I mean, through the dairy industry and through the meat industry, recklessly. There was no control on the ethical treatment at all. And but when you talk in come to India, the way we even eat meat is very ethical. You know, like Sikhs, they do not believe in eating halal. They do jhatka, way which would ethically, I mean, which is in a way killing the animal with the least pain that he could experience. We ethical treatment and throughout the ages. And when it comes to the dairy industry, between vegetarian and vegan is just whether you consume dairy product or not. And in the Western world, if the milk which is coming to my home every day and the cow which is producing it, ultimately that cow would be sent to the slaughterhouse. Somewhere else it would be served as a beef. So those are the sentiments that we have with our cattle. We treat our animals ethically. There haven't been any note. I mean, we and there are repercussions if you are happen to be found guilty of killing an animal. That is how strict we are on treating with our cat. This is something which I feel confident in while consuming dairy products, that the milk that I am consuming today, she'll die of natural causes. She won't be served at a restaurant as beef. So that is the confidence I have in milk, and that makes me a vegetarian and not vegan.
Gautam, like you are saying, drawing a line. Okay, so I will say should currently focus like how they can reduce the amount of pesticides or maybe the oxytocin injections or chemicals like you not on moving away from agriculture or milk etc. So if they are able, like if our government or be able to educate our to reduce the amount of pesticides or oxytocins we are using, so we may be able to draw a line by creating a good impact in the society and also by giving good ethical treatment to the animals.
Talking about veganism, what see, I went through a lot of videos and I listened to a lot of athletes. No, they have in quite some time. You see Virat Kohli now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He has also turned into vegan. So if you talk of these people, obviously they, after consuming products which are obviously they were non-vegetarian before, then they became vegetarian, then into vegan. So what their experience is, what they tell is that their physical overall physical strength and overall physical agility and light and everything. But point is, when we talk of here we have two things, no. One is a technical difference, another is economic when it comes to people living in India, and also when we talk of Western culture and culture here in East, where people are economically good. So when you talk of veganism, it seems to be a bit for people who are well off, who can actually afford that products, and not for a farmer or for a lower middle class or probably for a higher. It's really difficult to sustain on the plant based diet, considering the current options that he has. So for like the economics of the plant based product that are being served in the country. So if you see, considering the overall benefits plus the amount in which the dairy milk is sold, I think that's the best option for I probably 85% of the people population of India. So that is where the difference lies, why veganism is should be a choice, and also why dairy should set off just like this. And obviously, the third thing which I talked about initially and also Gaurav mentioned here is we need to work on that drawing the line. That line should be drawn somewhere where the ethical treatment in itself in dairy, wherever, as we also spoke, where we are actually the place where we are not able to push the industry moving towards the cruelty sector, and we are not able to control it somewhere through oxytocin injections, as Akshay mentioned, or that we are feeding them. Somewhere the policy should come in that way to control all those factors, and obviously the behavioral impact that needs to come along with it. This is where I rest my case to.
Okay, so yeah, you guys really summed it up for me so that I don't have to do it. That's great. But again, it's probably a personal choice, nothing to fight over or force on somebody. That is something that, as a society, we need to keep in our heads that whatever I want to eat, we I eat. It's my personal choice, and same is yours. So just start to accept those differences as a society. And secondly, that it is true that the significance this milk dairy industry has on lives of farmers, it cannot be neglected. And somehow, with the growing population and the changing lifestyle people want to have in the tier one countries, states, we'll have alternatives coming up, but it's not like taking bite out of what that exists. So we should keep that in mind as well, rather than finding everything as an Western influence and all those things. And also remember what our culture is, and not try to just adapt everything that the Western countries have to throw at us. That is something which we are known to do. But so with that, it's the end of this video, and I'd like to again thank my friends for taking their time. And for those who are watching, I hope you are well and you are following the social distancing norms wherever you are. Wear mask whenever you leave house, if it is allowed by your government, or if you have the proper papers to be out. Do that, and spend time with your family. Stay happy, stay safe. So I'll see you in the next one.